The night split with a slam, the sound of a heavy door shaking the silence like thunder. Maya clutched her chest, whispering, "Why does it hurt so much?" Her tears blurred the room as echoes of betrayal filled the air. She had sworn never to cry for a man again, yet here she was, trembling like a child abandoned in the storm. Desmond's voice lingered in her head, smooth and cold, reminding her of promises broken. Maya said, "You asked me to give you my soul, and I gave it, but what did you give back?" The empty space answered with a void. The memory of his touch burned hotter than fire, and the betrayal cut deeper than a blade. Somewhere across town, Desmond sat in his polished penthouse, staring into his glass of whiskey, unable to silence the ghost of her voice. His pride told him to forget her, but his heart twisted with guilt. The storm outside mirrored the storm inside, violent, unrelenting. In the shadow of midnight, love and pain became one. Maya stood before the mirror, her swollen eyes betraying sleepless nights. She whispered, "How can I love a man who only sees me as a contract?" Her chest tightened. She remembered his words, a cruel mix of desire and arrogance. Desmond had asked her to carry his child, as if love could be purchased like property. She had laughed then, but tonight the laughter felt like betrayal of her own heart. Maya said, "I told you I was untouched, and you turned that innocence into a deal." She pressed her palms to the glass, the reflection mocking her pain. Somewhere inside, her dignity screamed to fight back, yet her heart ached for him. Desmond sat with his head in his hands, whispering, "What have I done?" His pride had demanded control, yet his heart burned with regret. He remembered Maya's laugh, her innocence, her defiance, all of it echoing through the silence. He wanted her, not just her womb, but the pieces of her soul he had shattered. He muttered, "I thought I could buy love, but all I did was destroy it." His glass slipped from his fingers, whiskey splashing across the floor. For once, Desmond's wealth felt meaningless against the weight of his guilt. Maya's best friend Jasmine stormed into her apartment, eyes sharp with fury. Jasmine said, "You mean to tell me he asked you to be nothing but a vessel?" Maya tried to smile, but her lips trembled. Jasmine wrapped her arms around her, whispering, "You are not his possession, you are your own." Maya's tears returned, but for the first time they felt like healing. Jasmine's words became a shield against the storm of betrayal. Desmond walked to the balcony, rain soaking his silk shirt, the city lights shimmering below. He muttered, "Maya, I never meant to hurt you." His chest heaved as he gripped the railing, thunder rolling above. He closed his eyes, feeling the storm rage as violently as his heart. His empire meant nothing if she was gone. He whispered into the storm, "I asked for a child, but I needed your love." Morning sunlight pierced through heavy curtains, yet Maya felt no warmth. She sat curled on the couch, clutching a blanket, whispering, "Love should not feel like this." Jasmine moved around the kitchen, her voice sharp but caring. Jasmine said, "You are worth more than his empire, Maya." Maya's mind replayed Desmond's proposal like poison on repeat, the cold way he said he needed her. She muttered, "He doesn't see me, Jasmine, just what I can give him." Jasmine dropped a spoon, the clatter echoing like judgment. Jasmine said, "Then stop bleeding for him. Show him your strength." Maya closed her eyes, pain and defiance warring inside her chest. Desmond sat in his office, walls of glass framing the restless city below. His assistant asked if he wanted the board notified, but he waved them away. Desmond muttered, "All the power in the world, yet I cannot hold her." He leaned back, staring at the ceiling, heart heavy with unspoken words. His chest tightened when he remembered Maya's trembling voice, her innocence shattered by his arrogance. He whispered, "She deserves love, not my conditions." His reflection on the desk glass looked like a stranger. For the first time he felt like his empire had betrayed him as much as his heart. Maya walked through the bustling street market, voices of vendors mixing with laughter and car horns. She moved slowly, eyes scanning faces, seeking distraction from her storming heart. She whispered, Life keeps moving, even when love dies. Jasmine caught up, slipping her hand into Maya's. Jasmine said, "Don't let him take your joy." The smell of roasted corn, the color of fabrics, the rhythm of drums pulled Maya back into herself. For the first time in days, she managed a fragile smile. Yet behind her smile, her chest still ached for the man who had broken her. Desmond stood in front of the mirror of his penthouse bathroom, his reflection stern and tired. He said, "I can command empires, but not her heart." His voice cracked under the weight of regret. He thought of Maya's laughter, how pure it had sounded before he turned it into sorrow. He whispered, "She was my friend before anything else." His jaw clenched, a war between pride and love raging within. He slammed his fist against the marble counter, the sound echoing through the hollow room. Desmond knew he could not win her back with wealth. He would have to bare his soul. Maya sat by the window of her apartment, journal open on her lap, pen trembling in her hand. She wrote, "Love cannot be demanded, it must be given." Her tears stained the paper, each drop blending with ink. Jasmine walked in quietly, placing tea beside her, whispering, "Write it out, heal it out." Maya smiled faintly, her voice cracking. Maya said, "If he only saw me, not my body, maybe I wouldn't hurt so much." She looked out at the night sky, stars faint beyond city lights, a fragile hope flickering within her pain. The evening burned with golden light as Maya crossed paths with Desmond outside a crowded gallery opening. Her pulse raced as his shadow fell across her. Maya said, "You should not be here." Desmond's gaze, locked on hers, raw, unyielding. He answered, "I had to see you." People moved around them like waves, but the storm between their eyes drowned out the world. Maya's chest tightened, anger and longing colliding. She whispered, "You asked for my womb, not my heart." His jaw clenched as he replied, "I asked wrong, but I wanted everything." Their silence turned heavier than any noise, pulling them closer, even as pride forced them apart. Inside the gallery, art lined the walls, but Maya's eyes never left Desmond. He leaned close, voice low and trembling. Desmond said, "You were never a deal, Maya. You were my fire." She bit her lip, fury and desire warring. Maya said, "You broke me when you turned love into a contract." His hand twitched, almost reaching for hers before retreating. She whispered, "Do you even know how much I bled for you?" His face darkened with regret, eyes heavy with the weight of his choices. The paintings around them seemed to mock their story, beauty born from pain. Jasmine arrived at the gallery, her presence breaking the storm. She stepped between them, her voice sharp. "Jasmine," said Maya, "don't let him rewrite your scars." Maya's throat tightened as her friend shielded her. Desmond's eyes narrowed. Desmond said, "This is between us, not you." Jasmine held her ground, fierce. Jasmine said, "If you cannot see her worth beyond what she can give you, then you don't deserve her." Maya's chest heaved, torn between loyalty to her heart and the truth in Jasmine's words. For a moment, the gallery air grew suffocating, the world shrinking to the battlefield between love, pride and protection. Maya broke free from Jasmine's hold and faced Desmond, her eyes blazing. She said, "I am not your salvation or your possession." Desmond stepped closer, voice cracking. Desmond said, "You are my only truth." Her tears threatened to spill, but she clenched her jaw. Maya whispered, "Then why did you treat me like something to be bought?" The silence between them throbbed like a wound. Around them, people pretended to look at paintings, but all eyes drifted toward the storm unfolding. Maya turned, heart torn, each step away from him a rebellion against her own longing. Later that night, Maya sat alone on a park bench, city lights glowing behind her. She whispered, "Why can't I let him go?" Her journal rested on her lap, but she could not write. Memories of his laughter, his touch, his betrayal swirled together like smoke in her mind. She said, "I hate him for breaking me, but I ache for him still." The cool night air kissed her skin, her tears blending with the breeze. Somewhere across the city, Desmond stood by his penthouse window, whispering the same truth, their longing stretching like a bridge they were both too afraid to cross. Maya sat at her desk, journal pages spread open, when a knock shattered the quiet. She opened the door to find Simone, Desmond's former lover, her presence like a blade. Simone smirked, her words sharp. Simone said, "Did you really think he wanted only you?" Maya froze, breath shallow. Simone pulled a folder from her bag and tossed it on the table. Inside were documents, Desmond's contracts, detailing agreements about heirs and legacy. Maya whispered, "This can't be true." Simone leaned closer, her voice venom. Simone said to him, "Love was business, and you were the perfect transaction." The world tilted, Maya's chest collapsing under the weight of betrayal. Maya flipped through the papers, her fingers trembling. Each line confirmed what Simone said. Desmond had outlined her life like a business plan. Maya muttered, "He used me." Simone's voice cut like glass. Simone said, "Men like him don't love, they acquire." Maya's tears blurred the ink, yet her rage burned hotter than grief. She clenched the folder and whispered, "If this is true, he broke me deeper than I imagined." Simone smiled coldly, satisfied. The sound of the rain against the window became thunder inside her chest. The truth clawed at her soul, leaving her gasping for air. Desmond paced his penthouse, phone pressed against his ear, arguing with his lawyer. His voice cracked as he shouted, "I never wanted her to see those papers." He slammed the phone shut, chest heaving. His reflection in the glass wall looked like a stranger, cold and broken. He whispered to himself, "She was never a deal to me. She was my heart." Yet the documents told another story, one written long before his feelings grew. Desmond's fists tightened, shame and fear clawing at him. He knew Simone had poisoned the truth, and now Maya might never forgive him. Jasmine found Maya curled on the couch, the folder clutched to her chest. Jasmine pulled it from her hands, scanning the pages with disbelief. Jasmine said, "Maya, this doesn't mean he didn't love you." Maya's voice broke. "It means I was a deal before I was anything." Jasmine sat beside her, gripping her shoulders. Jasmine said, "Maybe he started wrong, but you were not just ink on a page." Maya wept, shaking her head. The wound felt deeper than any betrayal. She whispered, "How can I ever believe his words again?" Jasmine held her tighter, whispering truths she prayed her friend would one day accept. Maya stood by her window, folder open on the sill, city lights glowing through the rain. She whispered, "Was I ever anything but a line in his plans?" The pages fluttered in the breeze, threatening to slip into the night. She clutched them, torn between rage and longing. Her tears blurred the skyline, her reflection fractured in the glass. Maya said, "If he ever loved me, he hid it under greed." Across the city, Desmond stood at his own window, whispering her name into the storm. Their truths collided unseen, the distance between them growing heavier with every heartbeat. Maya stormed into Desmond's penthouse, folder clutched in her hands, rain dripping from her coat. Her voice shook with fury. Maya said, "Was I just a contract to you?" Desmond froze, eyes wide. He whispered, "No, Maya, listen to me." She threw the papers on his table, the pages scattering like broken trust. Maya's voice cracked. "Every word proves I was nothing more than an arrangement." Desmond stepped forward, desperation in his tone. Desmond said, "Those papers were written before you, before I knew what love was." Her tears burned as she shouted, "But you hid them, you let me believe a lie." Desmond reached for her hand, but Maya pulled back. Her eyes flamed with betrayal. Maya said, "You made me believe your love was pure." His chest rose and fell as he whispered, "It is, Maya, you are my only truth." She shook her head, voice trembling. Maya said, "You had the chance to tell me, and you chose silence." His voice cracked. "I was afraid of losing you." She stepped closer, anger mixing with pain. Maya said, "You lost me the moment you made me a transaction." The storm outside roared, echoing the chaos inside their hearts. Maya's hands trembled as she clutched the torn papers. Her voice broke into pieces. Maya said, "Do you know what it means to give yourself completely, only to realize you were never enough?" Desmond's voice shook. "You were more than enough. You were everything." She stepped closer, tears streaking her cheeks. Maya said, "Then why does it feel like I was bought?" His eyes glistened, his pride stripped bare. Desmond said, "Because I was too much a coward to confess my truth." Silence roared between them, charged with anger, longing, and the ache of shattered trust. Desmond's voice erupted, his restraint gone. Desmond shouted, "I wanted you before I even understood it. You are not my deal, you are my damn heartbeat." Maya's chest heaved, her fury colliding with longing. She screamed, "Then why did you bury me under lies?" His fists shook at his sides, veins straining. Desmond said, "Because I didn't think I deserved you." Her tears fell freely as silence followed his confession. For a heartbeat, they stood as two broken souls, fire and storm clashing in one room. Maya collapsed onto the sofa, her strength gone. She whispered, "I don't know if I can forgive you." Desmond dropped to his knees before her, eyes desperate, voice breaking. Desmond said, "Don't forgive me now, but don't walk away. Let me prove I am more than those papers." She looked down at him, her heart torn, her soul raw. Maya said, "You shattered me, Desmond." His hand hovered over hers, trembling. Desmond whispered, "Then let me be the one to piece you back together." The storm outside calmed slightly, though inside their hearts, the war raged on. Morning broke with soft golden light spilling across Maya's kitchen table, yet the warmth refused to reach her chest. She sat hunched, a porcelain cup cooling untouched between her palms, eyes heavy from a night of tears. Jasmine leaned forward, her voice steady but piercing. Jasmine said, "You've given him every piece of yourself, and now you sit here questioning if you still have anything left to give." Maya's lips trembled as she whispered, "He begged me not to leave, begged for a chance to prove himself, but begging doesn't erase the scars." Jasmine placed her hand over Maya's, grounding her. Jasmine said, "Begging is easy, change is hard. You must decide if he's capable of the latter." Maya's breath quivered as she admitted, "Every part of me aches for him, but the wound feels so raw that even breathing hurts." Jasmine's gaze softened, her voice lower, almost tender. Jasmine said, "Love without trust is nothing but a cage, and if you walk back into it, make sure you're willing to live with the chains." The silence that followed was louder than any thunderstorm, filled with the heaviness of choices no woman should have to face. The park was nearly empty, leaves rustling under a pale afternoon sky. Desmond walked slowly, his tailored suits abandoned, replaced with a gray sweater that seemed to strip him of all armor. He muttered to himself, "I would burn every building I own if she asked me." The laughter of children echoed nearby, light and free. A cruel reminder of the family he longed for, not to secure a legacy, but to share love. He sank onto a wooden bench, leaning forward, elbows on knees, head bowed as though the weight of his empire pressed into his bones. His voice cracked, "I don't need heirs, I need her." The words were barely audible, swallowed by the breeze. His reflection in the puddle beneath his feet looked foreign, a man stripped of power, stripped of pride. Desmond rubbed his face with both hands, whispering, "If she never forgives me, I'll still love her until it kills me." A jogger passed, glancing at him with curiosity, but he was too lost in grief to notice. For the first time, he understood that love had broken him more than any boardroom war ever could. Maya returned to work, the office buzzing with the hum of keyboards, the laughter of colleagues, the endless chatter of people untouched by heartbreak. She sat at her desk, her posture rigid, her hands trembling as she opened her journal beneath the glow of her monitor. She whispered, "He is everywhere in my thoughts." The words spilled onto paper, though her mind could not silence the echo of his voice. The folder still haunted her dreams, but his plea, broken and raw, replayed louder. She wrote slowly, her pen carving deep into the page, "I loved him beyond reason, beyond dignity." A tear slipped, staining the paper, spreading ink like a wound too deep to close. Around her, co-workers joked and laughed, their voices floating, but Maya felt like a ghost among them. She clutched her chest, whispering again, "What is love if not pain we choose to keep?" The sentence lingered, heavy, filling her space with sorrow disguised as strength. Night fell heavy, the storm returning with relentless rain. Desmond stood outside Maya's apartment, water soaking his sweater until it clung to his chest. He carried no umbrella, as if punishing himself with every drop. He whispered into the storm, "If she never opens the door, I will stand here until the last drop falls." His fists clenched, his jaw tight, his eyes raw with desperation. He lifted his hand to knock, but froze inches from the wood. His voice cracked, trembling against the storm. "Desmond," said Maya, "forgive me or destroy me, but I cannot leave without trying." Thunder rumbled above, rain ran down his face, indistinguishable from tears. He stood still, immovable, as if the world had narrowed to this single doorway, this single chance. Each second stretched into eternity, his heartbeat louder than the storm's roar. Inside, Maya pressed her back against the door, her breath ragged. She could hear the muffled weight of his presence, the steady rhythm of his breathing through the wood. She whispered, "Why can't I shut him out?" Her hand hovered over the lock, trembling, her chest rising and falling as if she carried 1,000 battles inside her. Jasmine's words echoed like warnings in her head, freedom or chains. But then came his voice again, faint through the storm. Desmond whispered, "I'll wait here until the world ends if that's what it takes." Her tears streaked down her face as she muttered, "If I open this door, I give him the power to heal me, or destroy me forever." With a sharp breath she turned the knob, the door creaking open slowly. He stood there, drenched, broken, his eyes raw with truth. For one suspended moment, the silence between them carried both ruin and fragile possibility. Maya stared at him, her chest rising unevenly, her eyes burning with both fury and yearning. She whispered, "Why are you here?" Desmond's voice cracked, rough and stripped. Desmond said, "Because losing you feels worse than death." His words cut through her like lightning, jagged and merciless. She tightened her grip on the doorframe, her strength fragile yet unbroken. Maya said, "You wounded me, Desmond. You broke something I don't know how to fix." His soaked frame shivered, but he stepped forward anyway, eyes fierce with sorrow. He whispered, "Then let me be the one who carries your scars as my own." Tears filled her eyes, a storm threatening to drown her. For one fragile second, silence consumed them, thicker than any words, heavier than any confession. Maya stepped aside slowly, letting him in. The storm softened outside, but the air between them pulsed like thunder. He stood near her, hesitant, as though one wrong move would shatter the fragile ground they stood on. Desmond said, "I will not run from you again." Her lips trembled, her voice heavy with doubt. Maya said, "I don't know if I can love you without fear." He inched closer, his hand hovering near hers, trembling. Desmond whispered, "Then let me teach you trust again, one breath at a time." A tear slid down her cheek, falling to the floor like shattered glass. Silence stretched long and unbearable, filled with ruin and rebirth all at once. The door creaked again as Jasmine entered, her presence grounding the chaos. She glanced between them, her voice like fire wrapped in calm. Jasmine said, "If you break her again, Desmond, I swear I will be the storm you cannot survive." Maya's chest tightened, her heart pulled in two directions. Desmond bowed his head slightly, his pride stripped to nothing. Desmond said, "I know, and I accept it. I will spend the rest of my life proving I deserve her." Maya whispered, "I don't want promises, I want truth." Jasmine squeezed Maya's shoulder firmly, eyes unwavering. Jasmine said, "Then let him show you through actions, not words." The silence burned hot, filled with fragile hope and terrifying risk. Later, the three sat in silence, but Jasmine soon left, her gaze lingering like a shield. Now only Maya and Desmond remained, distance heavy between them. Maya whispered, "Love isn't enough if trust is broken." His jaw tightened, his voice cracked. Desmond said, "Then I'll rebuild trust until it kills me." Her hands shook as she whispered, "You make me want to believe, but I'm afraid of drowning in you again." His eyes glistened as he leaned forward, desperate. Desmond said, "Then I'll be your anchor, never your chains." The quiet that followed was thick, fragile, and haunting, holding them like glass that could shatter at any moment. As dawn broke, golden light spilled into the room, the storm finally gone. Maya stood at the window, watching drops slide down the glass like remnants of her tears. She whispered, "Love is not about possession, it's about surrender." Desmond stepped beside her, his presence quiet, reverent. He whispered, "Then I surrender, Maya. To you, to us, to everything I should have done right." Her eyes fluttered closed as she inhaled the fragile morning air. Maya said, "If I choose you again, it will be with all my scars, not despite them." He nodded, brushing her hand with his, not gripping, only offering. The silence that followed was the final blow. Love was not healed, only scarred into permanence, a haunting truth neither could erase.